Have you ever carefully read what's underneath the red boxing glove at the beginning of the opening? It says Champion Joe 50th Anniversary Project, and that's my problem. Not many viewers are aware that Megalo Box is following the footsteps of a legendary boxing series known in Japan as Ashita No Joe, which is also called Champion Joe, Tomorrow's Joe, and Rocky Joe. The point is, the manga is 50 years old and the anime Megalo Box was made to celebrate its anniversary. Megalo Box is not a reboot, but it certainly has some similarities to Ashita No Joe, mostly through cosmetic methods for having similar character designs. But inward, the series doesn't quite live up to its predecessor. With 6 episodes having aired, we've almost reached the halfway point for Megalo Box, as its full run will be 13 episodes. In these initial 6, the series has declined for me. What originally began as a young man tired of being a fraud and seeking a better life has been falling into a mere boxing action series without much story. Since I've seen all of Ashita No Joe, I'd find myself comparing Megalo Box to its previous legend. I suppose the question is, should I even be comparing them? One series will only be 13 episodes, while the original Ashita No Joe lasted over 100. The Megalo Box characters aren't exact copies, but if they're going to resemble them, even going as far as naming the main character Joe, it makes my head to start thinking, I need to compare and contrast both of these Joes and their storylines, and if this anime is supposed to celebrate 50 years of Ashita No Joe, shouldn't we want a grand story that respects the original source? In 2017, I faced my disappointment with Infinity Force, a superhero crossover celebrating 55 years of the company Tatsunoko, and their 4 superheroes of the 1970s. The end result was that they spent too much time on a single hero, while making very little use of the other 3. With Megalo Box, I'm starting to get worried on its content. Episode 1 was so investing, getting the attention of the entire anime community, and by the time it ended, you are left with the feeling of wanting more. We had a character from the slums who didn't have an ID and no real name, except being called Junk Dog. Being a fake boxer who threw fights for money, Junk Dog wanted to break free of this miserable lifestyle. He wanted to fight for real and become a winner. His meeting with Yuri left an impression as the cliffhanger teased the fight between the current Megalo Boxing champion, the person Junk Dog wants to be. Once episode 2 premieres, the story moves forward by creating a goal for Junk Dog, who loses to Yuri. Junk Dog wants to participate in Megalomania, but his coach Nanbu refuses, saying we don't think about tomorrow. It's best to leave things as they are. Why should we risk our financial security in real fights when we can control the outcome? It's basically a message saying, bow your head and do as you're told, live like a chain-fighting dog. Junk Dog then disobeys by winning the fight, which gets him in trouble with the local mob. This led to a desperate act of paying them back by winning Megalomania, and to top it off, Junk Dog gets a fake ID and chooses the name Joe. In universe, he got the idea from reading a sign, but to any fans of Ashita No Joe knows that the true meaning behind the name was to honor the legacy of Joe Yabuki. With Junk Dog now being Christian with the identity Joe, the series takes a whole new turn for me. I was expecting more tributes to the original series to be played, but Megalo Box hasn't gone in that direction. We haven't seen much interaction between Joe and Yuri himself has made very little appearances. Yuri is supposed to represent Doro Rikishi, Joe's main rival, a man who was willing to throw everything away to defeat Joe, best proven with his insane weight loss and dehydration. There's still time for Yuri to become involved in the story, as I presume the newest traitor would lean the story from his point of view. But currently, the rivalry feels very below standard. The same can be said for the matches, as the gimmick of gears isn't being used to its full potential. Ironically, the most interesting looking gears were the primitive ones, which had more elaborate designs, while the more advanced gears are sleek, efficient, yet lack much presence during actual boxing. It almost seems the idea of gears being thrown away, especially when Junk Dog has become Gearless Joe, fighting without gears. This is done to prove his worth as a man, but it's been giving me the impression that the gears aren't going to stay relevant in the series setting. Joe had an opportunity for a better gear, but it's quickly destroyed, which only seems to prove my theory of the gears becoming irrelevant to the narrative or its overall presentation. Gears served as an identity of making Megalo Box different from other boxing series, but gears alone don't make the story. I have a gut feeling that the gears were the opportunity to lure in people for this old-fashioned anime, but both the gears and conflict don't feel like a major deal. The best example are the challenges of episodes 3 and 4, which had Joe lose his gears and being afraid of fighting without one, which are resolved very quickly. Meanwhile, Yuri has no involvement in the story. The same can be said for the Mafia, who is meant to pressure our characters, yet they too have little interaction with Group Nowhere. Episodes 5 and 6 took the story into a darker direction by introducing Aragaki, who formerly teamed up with Nanbu. Aragaki offered a traumatic military experience for losing his legs and was being suicidal. Aragaki was abandoned by Nanbu, who believed he was dead, thus creating conflict between them. Aragaki manages to recover using prosthetic legs to make his boxing comeback, but there's also jealousy towards Nanbu. This is helpful for the story that allows Nanbu to face his past, which affects his present partnership with Joe. But like the previous events, episode 6 wraps up the conflicts in a very fast manner, and could be considered abrupt since the match stopped with a forfeit, allowing Joe to advance. This is a character moment for Aragaki, who manages to move forward with his life, allowing Joe to take his place. Aragaki and Nanbu got to share a little story, but Joe himself has shown very little conviction and skill in what's supposed to be his tale. Currently, I don't see the same drive and hunger that he felt during the first episode, or as the opening displays that very battered up hungry dog. With the latest trailer showing a new opponent and more appearances of Yuri, I'm hoping that the original magic of the series hasn't vanished. I want Megalo Box to stand alongside Ashita No Joe, Hajime no Ippo, Ganbare Genki, and Rin ni Kakeru. I don't want Megalo Box to end up like the previous project. Joe vs. Joe.